Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. It's Stephanie Outten, and thank you for joining us tonight for Storytime with Stephanie. Storytime with Stephanie is a platform where we allow authors to come on and share all about their books, their stories, and what it is that they want to share to be able to impact the world. Storytime with Stephanie is a segment of the Writer's Anointing podcast, which is an opportunity for us to be able to give tips, tools, and tricks to the writing process so that you'll be able to really catapult your writing process and be able to write the book the world has been waiting for you to write. And so we are here tonight with Adam Olson. Adam is the author of two amazing books, 21, well, I'm going back and forth. 21 things you need to know about money, how to get it, keep it, and grow it. And what's your plan? A financial guide to developing your ideal retirement. And so we're so excited to have Adam with us tonight to be able to share all about money. So let's talk about money tonight. Adam, are you with us?
I'm with you. Let's get into it.
All right. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, Adam, tell us a little bit about yourself and what drove you to write these books about money to really get people into a place of understanding how to get it, keep it, and grow it.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a financial planner. I live in Norfolk, Nebraska, and I've been with the same company, Mutual of Omaha, for around 11 years now, almost 11 years now. So it goes pretty quick.
Yeah.
I have a wife and three boys at home, so I have three under four. So our house is kind of crazy. So if you hear some maybe body slams or anything going on, that's what that is. Don't worry about it. They're okay. But so when I first got in the industry, I tried to help as many people as I can, right? And as time went on, it was getting a lot more difficult to educate people about some of the basic things and kind of my philosophy about money, how you handle it, and some of the value things that I talk about too that you know about.
Yeah.
And so I was more or less, I was listening to a podcast one day. I was mowing, and it was talking about how you can say one thing to 1,000 different people, or you can say one thing one time and get it to 1,000 people, something along that lines.
Yeah.
And that's where it just kind of triggered me that why don't I write a book with a lot of this basic stuff that I spend an hour or 2 hours coaching clients with on our first two meetings. Just put it in a book. That's a good entry level intro for them into money and how I work with my clients. And then when I have our conversations, they just kind of hit the ground running versus starting right at square one.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And what I found so fascinating when I first was introduced to you a couple, what was it, 2-3 years ago?
3 years, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that you're super young, right? And you have this amazing background in financial advising, really being able to help people understand all about money. And where did that come from? Where did that drive for you to really understand money for yourself so that you can share concepts and basic skills around money with other people?
So I always, like, when I was speaking at a high school a couple of weeks ago, I always tell it was like a career class, right? And I told the kids, I'm like, find something that interests you, right? And then if you find something that interests you, you're never going to be bored when you learn more about it. Yeah. So like money is really interesting to me, how it works, some of the different things with investing and how to make money. And so for me, when I'm getting into that with people and when I get into myself, like I make stupid mistakes with money too. Don't get me wrong. We're all bad with money.
We all do.
Yeah. But when I'm writing about it and when I'm coaching clients about it every day, it helps me be a lot more cognizant myself of things that I'm doing wrong with money. And when I see other people make mistakes, it's like, note to self, don't do that. Right. So just when I'm in it every day, it's just something I enjoy. And I mean, it helps me keep myself grounded and it helps me keep my clients that I work with grounded too.
Yeah, very
Just
good.
the education part, right? Always learning more about money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have a fantastic value system as well. Your thoughts around money and just an understanding around how to navigate with money, that you were raised in that, right? Your mom was in the financial industry as well, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my mom's she's a CPA, and I would say, like, I had a lot different upbringing than a lot of people, fortunately enough, right? So my dad was a business owner, my mom was a CPA, and so kind of my whole life, I've kind of always been around the conversations of money. It's something we've never shied away from, like as far as talking about debt, how much stuff costs, what we can and can't afford, why we
Mhm.
can't do certain things, understanding sacrifices. And so a lot of my upbringing really prepared me, didn't know about it at the time, but it really prepared me for what I do now,
Mhm.
just a basic level understanding about money. I mean, I started working for my dad on the farm at like the fourth grade,
Yeah.
started a Roth IRA when I was super young. So a lot of those things that I did up until now have really prepared me for where I'm at today, starting at a young age. And then I know we'll get into my value stuff later
Mhm.
on, but I had a couple missions experiences in college that, you don't really pay that close of attention to at the time because you're in college and there's other stuff going on. But looking back on it now, it really helped me understand that need versus want that people have with
Yes.
stuff that they have in their life, which is
Mhm.
pretty important for building long-term wealth, understanding that need versus want. But we'll jump into that later, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you talked about having a Roth IRA at a really young age. Some people, even at my age, and I'm much older than you, but don't even know, about things like IRAs. Don't even know about 401k. And unfortunately, it's sad because they weren't in an environment where they were able
Oh,
to learn about those things, right? And a little bit before the show, you and I were talking about the mindset, right? The
mhm.
whole poverty mindset, and how some families, unfortunately, give their children the gift of generational poverty, right?
Yeah.
Rather than the gift of generational wealth. And
Yeah.
when you're able to set your family up for success by helping them to have the mindset of wealth, you change the entire trajectory of someone's life. And so, even hearing about your mom and your dad and being able to have you in an environment where you understood concepts about money is fantastic. And I'm sure that's why you take some of those same principles that you learned from them and share them with others so that they don't have to be in that place of poverty when they actually can learn how to be wealthy from a young age.
Yeah,
Right?
100%. And Stephanie, all it takes is one generation. It
Yes,
takes one person in the line of a family to say, we're going to stop doing this the way it's been done for 2, 3 generations, and we're going to do this. And it's not
absolutely.
that hard. It just takes a little bit of discipline for a
Yes.
long time, right?
Yes. And I know that even when you wrote the first book, you were really trying to target those millennials, right? And the
Yeah.
younger generation of people that, they're going to be here a little bit longer than some of us that, don't necessarily know those right concepts around money. But I told you when I got this first manuscript from you, I was like, oh, wait a minute, Adam, you're changing my thoughts around money, right?
Yeah.
And you were
Yeah.
changing even my thinking. And I had to go back and kind of dig up some of those things that I learned about money that really did set me up for a poverty mindset. Even the words that we speak sometimes over ourselves will put us in that place of not having enough, right? And
Yep.
so being able to kind of break those things off of yourself by learning, educating yourself is really a powerful tool. And so I definitely want us to talk about this book because this one was
Yeah.
very transformative for me. 21 things you need to know about money, how to get it, how to keep it, and grow it. And one of the things that you start out talking about is the B word that a lot of people don't like to talk about, budgeting,
Mhm.
right? So let's talk about budgeting. Why you think it's so important for people to actually budget their funds?
Yeah, so I mean, it gets into more detail in the book than what we'll
Mhm.
talk about, right? But
Yes.
like super high level, if you don't know where your money's going, you're not going to be able to budget, right?
Mhm.
So like super high level budgeting, know where all your money's going each and every
Yes.
month, and then create habits. And then once you create those habits over time, it just becomes second nature that I don't go to Starbucks 3 times a day or,
Yes.
get a pop from the gas station every single afternoon.
Mhm.
So once you budget for a while, you develop good habits. Then once those habits are developed, you usually hit the ground running.
Mhm.
That's when I get into my, save 20, spend 10, and spend the rest, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me, save 20, give 10, spend the rest.
Mhm. Mhm.
So after you get those good budgeting habits, Stephanie, that's where I get people to try to save 20% of your income,
Yeah.
right? And it's not going to happen right away when you're at 18 or when you first start saving money at age 45, right? It takes time to work up to that.
Yes.
So there's certain saving bogeys that I have in the book that people need to get to. But then I really believe in like giving, right? So I
Mhm.
personally give to churches, nonprofit
Yes.
organizations, those kind of things. But there's other
Mhm.
ways to donate money. It goes back to that mindset thing that you talked about earlier, right?
Yes.
And then, so when you're saving enough, you're giving what you need to be giving, that allows you the freedom and flexibility to spend the rest of the money however you need to spend it.
Yes.
Isn't that
Yes.
kind of cool? That you don't have these handcuffs on you your whole life where, holy cow, I only have $100 to spend at the grocery
Yeah.
store this month, But once you
Yes.
get those good habits, you get good money habits, life gets a lot easier down the road.
Yes, it gives you that freedom. And that was something that, I've had a budget for a very long time. I have a budget spreadsheet and I was using it. And then, things happen and you kind of just fall off from there and you slip away from your budget and then you start spending money frivolously. And when I read your book, I was one of those people. I went to Starbucks literally every day after work just to get my white chocolate peppermint mocha because it was like my pick me up. It was my comfort. And when
Yeah.
I looked at that, I'm like, oh my God, like I am
Yeah.
spending a lot of money every day on something that honestly is not doing anything for me. Right.
Yeah.
And so being able to be disciplined around my money and think about my money differently was something that you taught me just from reading this book. So there's so much power packed into this book. And I encourage you all, because you all know me, I do not have the author tell all their secrets because I want you to buy the book. But what you'll find from these 21 things that Adam teaches you, they're really such simple concepts that when you apply them, you'll see your bank account grow, right? You'll feel so much better about how you're spending money because you have that freedom to spend because you have saved and you have given, just like Adam talked about. So let's talk about one of the other chapters, which I think is very important. And I was actually talking with someone today about credit scores and how impactful your credit score is, because some people think, I don't really care about my credit score. It doesn't matter, but credit score is important.
Big
So
time.
let's talk about credit and credit scores and the need for a good credit score.
Yeah, big time. So the credit score thing is a huge deal, Stephanie.
Mhm.
And like I always joke with people, like when somebody's buying something, I joke and say, just put it on a credit card. You don't have to pay those off. But I mean, like literally, I've had that conversation with people before that, like, no, you need to pay your credit card off.
Mhm.
That's how debt grows on those kind of things, and it gets real ugly real quick.
Yeah.
But credit score goes into a lot of things, Stephanie. If you're going to get a home loan, if you're going to get a car loan, believe it or not, auto insurance companies keep track of your credit score, and that kind of helps determine your rate on your auto insurance. So it's very, very important for people to make payments on their debt and make sure it's paid off in a timely manner and you don't get any bad credit reporting, because that can really affect a lot of other things in your life too. Like medical bills is another big one that people are running into lately, just with cost of stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you don't pay those things off and you get sent to collections, that can turn pretty ugly on your credit score.
Yeah.
And so there's more details in the book that you can grab on, how to get a better credit score, things you can do to improve it. And then I always encourage people too to, do online checks of your credit score at least once a year. There's 3 free websites that you can look at in the book that you can hop on and track your credit score. And those websites are kind of cool. It gives you, say you have this credit card, this credit card, this credit card, this payment, this payment. It'll all show you on the website how far you are tracking on all of them. If anything's falsely reported, you can see it on that website too. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I love that you give a lot of resources in here. So it's not just a book with, content. It has a lot of resources. If you get the ebook, you have the clickable link, but all the links are outlined in the book as well for you to be able to go and utilize these tools. So I encourage you to do that. So let's talk about, you talked about credit cards a little bit and making sure that you pay those credit cards off. And I think I remember you told a story in the book, right? About a situation with you with a credit card at one point.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've all had situations with credit cards where you buy something, you forget about it, you put it on a credit card, you don't pay it off. Maybe you move addresses or switch bank accounts and payments gets missed. That's why it's super important for people to track those credit cards and make sure you're paying those off. A big one too that I see a lot, Stephanie, is people get store credit cards now, right?
Yes.
So, you go to a store and buy something, get our credit card, you'll get 10% off, whatever. Losing track of those things over time can really be costly for people too. Yeah. And to jump on you on the book, I know I'm not big on fluff, right? Just kind of straight to the point with a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
A lot of comments that I get about the book though is like, just look, I mean, it's not very thick, right? A little over 100 pages, and just the quick hitting information in there really gives you good tools for people to grasp their finances. And like you
Mhm.
said too, Stephanie, it's not for those people that are 21 and younger, right? Or 30 and younger, which was
Mhm.
my original target.
Yeah.
When I first gave it to you, you're like, Adam, this is applicable for people over 30.
Yeah.
And so, it's not just the 30 and younger that can check out that first book and get good information. It's for a lot of age groups.
Absolutely. Yeah, anyone can get something from this because if you're in any of these situations that Adam talks about, if you have ever encountered a challenge in your finances and any of these 21 things that Adam addresses, this book is definitely for you because it will help you understand how you can do things differently to set yourself up for financial freedom. And who doesn't want that, right? We all want financial freedom. We want to be free from debt. We want to be free to be able to spend our money in the ways that we choose to, but wise ways as well, right? So, leasing cars versus buying cars. I always had questions about that, right? I've never leased a car, but I used to be so fascinated by people that it's like every year they had a different car, and I'm like, well, how is it that they can get a different car every year? Then I
Yeah.
heard about leasing, and I'm like, is that really beneficial? You tell us, is it beneficial to lease a car versus buying a car?
Yeah, so I would say for most people in most situations, you're always going to be better off buying used vehicles, right? Right now is a goofy time though. Like
Yeah.
everything's kind of goofy right now, but
Hmm.
there's actually people with leases coming due that are making money on those cars,
Yeah.
which doesn't happen that often. It's kind of once
Mhm.
in a lifetime kind of deal. So kind of have to bite my tongue on that one a little bit because, there are people that leased, 2, 3 years ago and they are making money on those cars now.
Yeah.
But also the prices of used cars that they're going to be getting into have gone up 35-40% over the last 12 months too.
Mhm.
So they're paying for it on the back end too.
Yeah.
So I would just tell the general population, generally speaking, you're going to be better off buying a used car and driving it for a long time if you're looking at getting the most out of your vehicle, getting the most out of your dollar. Yeah. But
Absolutely.
that again, there's nothing wrong with getting a leased vehicle every 2 to 3 years if you have the money to do it. It's just that a lot of people can't afford to do that, and they're spending way more on their car payment than they're even investing, which is a huge no-no. I mean, if you look at the average American, I guarantee you their car payment is, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times higher than what they're even investing in their investing accounts per month, which is pretty sad, right?
Yes. Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
such a great point. That's wow. Okay, that's a great point,
Yeah.
right? Because I used to know people who their car payment was more than rent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, then you might as well live in that car. Because
Have
what is
fun.
the point in having a car payment that's more than your rent?
Yeah.
There's absolutely no point to it, especially when you have a car where as soon as you drive it off the lot, it depreciates in value, right? So what's the point
Yep.
in that?
Correct.
And so you saying that is so important. If you cannot invest as much as you pay for your car note,
Something's
then
wrong.
something's wrong,
Yeah. Your
right?
priorities are messed up, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what this book helps to kind of teach us is that discipline around how we're using money. And so just that really hit home for me, Adam. I'm like, wow, I mean, I don't have a car payment. So, and I do invest quite a bit. So I'm grateful for that. But for those people out there, Adam, I need you to say that again so that they can hear it loud and clear
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
investing.
So just generally speaking, I tell people that you should be investing more every month than you are paying towards your car payment.
Yeah,
That's a very good rule of thumb that people can follow,
that's right.
just from a
So,
very high level.
yeah. So if you're out there with that $300-400 car payment and you're only putting $50 away, there's a problem.
Something's wrong. Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk about you have bank accounts and you talk about employer benefits as well. We're going to talk about those two things and then we're going to go on to your second book, What's Your Plan? So, what is it that you want people to understand about bank accounts? Because there's a ton of banks out there, there's a ton of credit unions out there, and all of them have different interest rates and different benefits, and they want to know. Well, what difference does it make where I put my money? So you talk about bank accounts. Share with us a little bit about your perspective generally about bank accounts and how people need to think about the banks that they select. And then I see okay. Annette says if you cannot invest as much as you're paying for your car note, then your priorities are off. Wow. Yep. We're going to be saying that all day, every day, so that people will truly implant that in their brain. So let's talk about bank accounts, importance of bank accounts and choosing the right one.
Yeah. So, like me personally, I bank at a local bank, right? I
Mhm,
live in small town Nebraska, and that's what's super easy, convenient for me.
mhm.
But I see a lot of people, Stephanie, who set up bank accounts and they have crazy overages, charges, overdraft fees.
Yeah.
They charge you for checking and savings accounts. I mean, in this day and age, if you can't find a bank that has, free checking, free savings account, something's wrong,
Yeah.
right? But people just don't pay attention. Like they don't even review their bank account statements and see those minuses on there every month.
Ooh.
So just make sure, I mean, do some basic shopping around, basic education. I mean, if you Google it and call the bank, you'll be able to find those free checking and savings accounts, which can add up to some serious money over time.
Yes. And for
Yeah.
those of you who are even, small business owners, you're entrepreneurs, same thing applies when you're looking for a business banking account, right? There
Mhm,
are many out there who
mhm.
I'm fortunate. I found an amazing credit union that they don't have any fees attached to their bank accounts. And
Yeah,
especially if you're a small business owner and entrepreneur, you don't have time to be paying all these bank fees. You're out there trying to make money, not give it right back, to the bank. So just be very mindful. Do your research, check Google, which is what I did. We searched Google day and night, trying to make sure that we could find the right bank account for business. And so apply that in your own personal and professional lives as well, thinking about which banks to use.
yeah,
Okay.
100%. Yeah, correct.
All right. So, anything else that you think, investment accounts? Let's talk about that from the first book and we'll move on to what's your plan.
Yeah,
Investment accounts. For someone who may be new to investing, they're just starting out, they really don't know what they should be doing as far as investing. What's some of the generally, what are some of the things that they should consider as it relates to investing their funds?
yeah, like a first place to get started. Is
Yes,
that what you're asking, right?
absolutely.
So the first place, I mean, there's different names for these type of accounts. Mutual funds or exchange traded funds are the two most common types of investment accounts that people brand new to investing set up.
Okay.
So when you think of those accounts, I tell people just to think of a bucket, right? So I got a bucket right here.
Mhm.
And inside of that bucket are a bunch of different stocks, companies that Stephanie. So like
Mhm.
Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, you name it.
Yeah.
So say in that bucket, we have these 100 different stocks. And when you invest in that bucket, we're going to call it a mutual fund for now. Every time you put in $100, let's say $1 goes to all those different companies. You still with me?
Yes.
And so that's an easy way for you to put money into these companies. And then as the companies grow and do better over time, guess what? Your dollar grows and your dollar does better over time.
Yes.
And when you do that each and every month for a long time, you'd be amazed at how fast those accounts build up. So
Yes.
that's a first place people get started with a lot of investing that I suggest is buying a mutual fund. A mutual fund is just a bucket that has a bunch of different companies inside of it
Mhm.
that you get partial ownership of every time you put in money.
Excellent.
Yeah. Easy
Excellent.
enough.
Say it again.
Easy enough.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
So, all of you out there listening live and watching the replay, if you do not have any investment experience, if you have never invested, if you're trying to figure out what to do, get a mutual fund. It's the easiest way for you to start. And then when you want to go further with investing, then you get with a financial advisor, right?
Correct.
Someone like Adam who's able to really help you and coach you through the process of where you should be putting your money for the best best rate of return for your future.
Exactly.
So, speaking of the future,
Yeah.
what's your plan? What's
Yeah.
your plan? It's all about building for the future for those people who want to be able to retire, right? And so I love this book just as much as I love the first one
Yeah.
because it really does help you to think through. You have paths and detours, how to create your plan, and what's your end game, right? So when it comes to retirement, you do have to have a path that you're going to be on. You will hit some bumps and bruises along the way, right? But as you create a plan, you can truly set yourself up for financial freedom so that when you get to retirement, you don't have to, unfortunately, be like so many, people that we see that are retired and they're still working. They're still out there working part
Mhm.
time because they thought Social Security was going to be there. They thought their retirement was enough, and it's not, right? So why not get yourself a plan that's truly going to help you to retire with ease?
Mhm.
So let's talk about what's your plan, values.
Yeah.
Values are critical in our day-to-day life, but tell me why you thought values were so important to share as it relates to finances.
Yeah. So when I talk about, like, that's usually a conversation I have with my clients when we first get started on stuff, is like, what do you actually value? Like, what's important to you? And honestly, Stephanie, a lot of people have never, ever, ever thought about that.
Yep.
They don't even consider it. So when I'm having that value conversation with clients, I share clients it's the 7 F's. I've told you about them before. They're in the
Yes.
book, but my first three that I just really like to highlight is faith, family, and fitness, right?
Yes.
So to me, in a perfect world, with my value system in place, if I can enhance those three things in my life, I'm really, really happy, right?
Yeah.
If I get touch base on my faith every day, if I get to read my Bible and have prayer time, that's a great day. If I get to see my family every day, spend time with the boys, wrestle around with them, break up fights, hang out with them, that's awesome. Spend time with my wife, Netflix on that new show you were telling me about.
Virgin River, yes.
And then if I get my workout in every day, in my life, that is a perfect day, right? And so when I'm working on value systems, if I can use money in my life to enhance those three things, that's really, really cool, right? So if I can take off work every day at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock and coach my kids' stuff, or be at my kids' stuff, or pick my kids up from school, that's cool with me if I miss out on some money, because family's more important to me right now in my life where I am than finances right now, right? It's still in my top 7, but like, you got to have a little give and take. And then, so just using money to enhance those three things in my life is really special. I always tell people all the time, I'm not a foodie, like, at all. You just put food in front of me and I'll eat it. I don't really care what it is. So for me, if I go out to eat 3 nights a week with my wife and spend $150 a night to go out and eat, that really doesn't make us any happier at all, right? We'd be happier spending that money on something else that we can do as a family that's going to be create memories and those kind of things. So values, using money to enhance those values, making yourself happy is really a key to long-term success, in my opinion, not only in finances, but in life, right?
Yes. Oh, I love that. You want to be able to create memories.
Yeah, 100%.
And I love that, because you can create so many memories without any money whatsoever, right? You can create so many memories with money, but how much better can those memories be when you actually know that at the end of the day you're not broke, right? You're not broke, you're not living in poverty. You have this sense of we always go back to freedom. That's what it's about, being able to be free to enjoy your life, to create the memories that you want to be able to create with your family, right? So sitting down to identify what your value systems, your value system is, what those values are. Adam said he has 7. I think I have 5, and just really knowing what they are, and then understanding how money might be attached to those things, right? And how to utilize your money so that you're able to share, or that you can apply the finances to the values that you have. So that's amazing, Adam. I love that you start this book out with that. You also talk about, what do you got? Get it together. And Adam is there. When he says no fluff, he is right to it. Like, he gets right to the point. And his chapter titles all crack me up, because you're like, what, Adam, what are you about to talk about now? So his chapter is, what do you got? Get it together. So what is that all about, Adam?
Yeah, it's just about getting organized, right? Because I meet with Stephanie, I meet with people all the time now who are, 40, 50, even at retirement. Just the other day, this is a great example. Husband and wife came in, and they had a list of 14 different separate retirement accounts that they had. 14.
Wow.
And so we had a conversation about, they're moving towards retirement, getting into that phase of life. What do we do with these 14 accounts? Well, it'd be a heck of a lot easier if there was like 3. We can do. And so it's just getting everything organized in your financial life. So it's your wills and trust, making sure you have those things. Where are they if something happens? Making sure you have all your financial statements. Where are they if something happens? Making sure your beneficiaries are up to date. Do you even have the right coverages that you need? Are you double covered in some places where you have too much insurance? Other places, not enough. And so it's just in that chapter, it walks through what you need to have, how you get it organized, and kind of talks about keeping things centralized to make your life easier if something happens to husband or wife or both of you at the same time. So,
Yeah.
like people that we work with, Stephanie, other advisors do this too, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I always say, like Jack and Diane is the example I give in the book of the, right? Every single chapter, I have a scenario of Jack and Diane, actual clients, not Jack and Diane, but
Right.
you get it.
Yeah.
So if something happens to Jack and Jack always took care of, say, the auto payments, the insurances, Diane has no idea what's going on, well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If Diane always took care of every single thing to do with their personal investments and that kind of things, and something happens to her, Jack has no idea what's going on. So when we work with clients, we just create a team environment where everybody has a general idea of what's going on. The head advisor takes care of everything else to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So if something happens to either one or both of them, everything's centralized.
Yeah. I love that. It's very important to be organized. And I know, having started investing from the time I was like 20 something years old, you're right. Like you're like, oh, I should just invest here and do this and that. And I had a ton of different, investments. And I was like, wait a minute, what is all this? And I had to get to the point where I said, I need to bring this together into a manageable, amount of options so that I'm not losing my mind with all these different things, and being able to sit down and say, okay, I need to have this, this, and this. This is the benefit of this. This is why I need to keep this. This is the benefit of that. And so having someone like a financial advisor to kind of walk you through that and coach you through that is really important. If you don't know how to do it yourself, I admit I don't know how to do that stuff myself. And so I make sure I align myself with the people that do and that I trust and that God sends to me so that I can go ahead and, get my finances where they need to be too. So tell us a little bit about, this is the one I love. Oh, you fancy, huh? Keeping up with the Kardashians. You fancy, huh?
Yeah.
What I know what this book is all about because I've read every chapter, but what did you want people to understand about this particular chapter, Keeping Up with the Kardashians?
Yeah. So I had to put that in there because my wife loves that show. It was on at our house all the time. But Stephanie, you know that it happens all the time. You see one of your friends get something and you're like, ooh, I need that.
Yep.
You've never ever seen it before, never even thought about getting it. So it's just the idea that, even if you can afford it, I go back to the value deal. Is that going to make you happier? So like fashion wasn't one of my ones. Cars weren't one of my ones. I could live in a cracker box and I'd be perfectly happy, right? So, I mean, just that whole keeping up with the Kardashian things is people buy stuff that they don't need just because they see their friends have it and they want to keep up with them more or less, which is honestly super sad because when they're doing that, it's taken away from other things that they could be doing that they might value that actually might make them happier, right?
Yes.
And it's just a sad cycle that I see, because you get happy when you buy something right away, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's cool to have packages come up and be waiting for something, but it lasts like what? A day, 2 days, and then you're on to the next thing.
Yeah, because you put it aside. You put it aside and you forget all about it.
Yep, 100%. One thing I wanted to point out too, Stephanie, is that these books, they are a do-it-yourself version, right?
Yeah.
So I have all of the tools are inside of this one for you to create your own plan, and there's the do-it-yourself version in there. So I tried to create a situation for people to say, you can work with somebody like me. This is how it works with me. This is my step process. This is how I work with clients. Or if you want to do it yourself, here it is over here. Because some people love doing this personal finance stuff and some people hate it. So I wanted to create a book that gives you both options. Yeah, exactly.
I hate it.
Exactly. So outsource what you don't like, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's not like advisors charge you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to work with them.
Exactly.
People
Exactly.
when they find out what it actually is to work with clients. What we charge to work with clients, I say.
Absolutely. Iceland says, I love this conversation. I do too. And I just love Adam. So I love talking to Adam. I mean, he's so wise for his age. And what I love is that he has poured so much of his self into this. Tammy says, what is the smallest amount that it could cost someone? So Tammy, tell us a little bit about what you mean as far as
Oh,
To work with a
yeah.
financial
Like
advisor?
I work with clients that's $50 a month.
Okay,
So we help
that's good.
clients out with their personal finances. That's $50 a month is what we charge. And
That's good.
yeah, that's shoot
That's
you.
a whole bunch of that's the Starbucks for me it's like 2 weeks worth of Starbucks.
Yeah. We'll work on you. We'll work on you.
Yeah, I'm good now. I don't even go to Starbucks anymore. Like, I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud. Oh, Tammy actually said the mutual funds, as far as, how much should you like the lowest amount to
Shoot,
start a
I think
mutual fund?
online ones you can do dollars. I mean, not even under $100. I'm sure some online ones you can set up.
That's
Yeah,
that's minimal,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Not much.
Because some people they spend that on food every
Yeah.
week. I have a friend that actually used to eat out every single day.
Ooh,
Every single day. And I understood her rationale. She was like, if I'm not home a lot, so what's the point in cooking? Because then the stuff won't get eaten. So I just eat out. I'm like, okay, I get it. But when you think about how much money she could have saved and put that away for a rainy day, I'm like, oh my God, you'd probably be a millionaire by now. It's like
it adds
craziness.
up quick. It adds up real quick.
Totally quick, totally quick. So if you guys have any other questions out there, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll push them up onto the screen. We're here with Adam Olson. He is the author of 21 Things You Need to Know About Money, How to Keep It, How to Get It, Keep It, and Grow It. And his second book, What's Your Plan, which is a financial guide to developing your ideal retirement. So Adam is a financial advisor with Mutual of Omaha. He is a fantastic young man who has really created an opportunity to understand how to create your own plan, build wealth for yourself in such an easy way. These books are short, less than 100 pages, and because he didn't want to break anyone's pocketbook with it, the books are only $10.99.
Yeah,
Right?
not bad at all.
$10.99 to be able to understand how to create a wealth path for yourself. And so Adam spends a lot of time educating people about their finances, and he's done such an amazing job of putting those how-tos in his books. And so when we get to chapter 2 of this book, you talk about creating your own plan and what that could look like. It's a 3-step do-it-yourself process. We're not going to go into specific details about it because we want people to buy the book so that they're
Yeah,
able to
yeah.
understand themselves. But talk a little bit about even your own planning process, right? When you were getting to the place of saying, okay, here's the age where I am now. I would like to retire by this time frame. Here's the plan I need to create in order to do that. Tell us about your plan.
Yeah, so I would just say, Stephanie, that every single person's plan is going to be different, right?
Yep.
You want things different than what I want, and I want things different than the same person my age with the same exact family dynamic. So
Yes.
every single plan's person is unique,
Yes.
to them, right? To
Absolutely.
the dollar, right? But 2, when you first get started in life, so like when I first got started 10 years ago, like what I wanted and where I was at financially is night and day difference from where I am at today. Like
Yes.
literally night and day difference. I mean, just getting out of college, I had a car at the time that was totaled out due to hail damage. Only one window worked. It
Oh
was
gosh.
not a good situation, right? Sharing an apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment for a while. And now where we have 3 kids in our household,
Mhm.
we're doing a lot of stuff right now. Times are busy, but every year along the way, I updated things, right?
Mhm.
Every single year as I got older, hey, this is where the business is at. This is where my personal things are at. This is where my family life is at. What do we got for the next year? What do we want to do? Like, where are we going? And so not only is everybody's plan different, but everybody's plan needs to be updated on a regular basis, right?
Mhm.
Because if I, just like you, if you don't look at things in your business or your personal life for 5, 10 years,
Yeah.
holy cow, does that
Yeah.
time go fast though, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
so
yes.
it's outdated so fast. So if you're not updating things and changing your perspective on things every single year, I mean, you'd be surprised how fast things get outdated. And 2, I feel like it's very important for like personal growth and professional growth
Mhm.
for me to update those things every year in my personal plan, because if you're not dreaming bigger every year, you're gonna start to dwindle, which I don't think is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people do that from time to time.
Yeah.
Especially I don't know if I want to say guys, but just people in general, as they get older, they get a lot sourer.
Yeah.
Life got me down, life's beat me down.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, you got to pay attention every single year, set new goals for yourself. So it's important to update it every single year.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this question. This probably, should have been a question I asked during the first book, but I just thought about it now. For people who are, in a situation where they're making more, right?
Yeah.
So now they've gotten a pay increase, or their business, is producing more profit, and now they're making more than they used to. When you think about how they're then spending or budgeting, what do you say to those people who think, okay, now I make more, so I can just, do all kinds of things with the extra money, rather than, continuing to still live off of how you were living before?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a big problem that I see people, they start out and we were saving a specific dollar amount. Say, I started out investing, I was saving $100 a month. Well, yeah, man, you're only making 10 grand a year at that time. If you're making 100 grand a year, you need to be saving a little bit more money, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a huge problem that people have, is as they get bonuses, as they get pay raises, they don't change how much they're saving, which is a huge no, because again, 5, 10 years go by, your lifestyle's this big, you're still only saving this much.
Yep.
Fast forward to retirement time, that gap's going to be even larger. And so you're going to be even in a worse situation. And a lot of times too, like where I live, Stephanie, I tell people all the time, I don't think you're really going to be any happier where I live if you're making 150 grand a year, 200 grand a year versus 70 grand a year or 60 grand a year. Like, it's all about lifestyle choices, I think, that people make and how they choose to spend their money, because more money doesn't make you happier, right?
That's right.
Everybody knows that. There's a lot of unhappy rich people.
Oh, yes.
But if I can, be happy with this set amount of salary, and then the extra money that I have, if I can do things like bless people in the community, bless nonprofits, bless churches, save up for future family stuff that I want to do, put away for my kids' college, put away for my kids' car, like, that's where it gets really special for you to use that money that you're saving for, like, milestones, right? Instead of just, let's go out to eat all the time, let's party, let's blow our money on stupid stuff, right? Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. And those are things that people need to incorporate into their plan, right? What's your long-term view? Like, what is it that you really want to be able to do and see your money do? So I love that. Simple. Like I said, everything that Adam shares is just simple, quick, easy things that you can do to make sure that you create the right plan for yourself. Iceland says, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's simple. All right. So the end game is the last chapter of the first book. And you have a few chapters within each of these different sections of this particular book. But you really want people to think about, in the end game, what have they learned, right? What is it that they've really learned through this whole process? And especially because you are giving them the opportunity to kind of do some things themselves. And the hope is that as they're reading through these different chapters, they're also doing the work at the same time, right?
Yes.
So this is not a book to just be like, oh, this is good. This is good information. And you just read through it and you put it away.
Yeah.
You should actually be doing the things that Adam is sharing, to be able to start creating that plan for yourself, to actually see new things start to happen with your money. Because again, we talked at the top of the show and we said it's all about mindset, right? And if you have the wrong mindset, even about how you read this book, you're going to end up in the same exact situation that you were in before you started reading the book, right? So really digging into, what have they learned? What is it that they've learned from the beginning of the book? And if they read the first book, which you don't necessarily recommend that they read the first book before they get to the second book, but you don't have to, but it's great if you get both, right? Because there's different things that Adam shares in each book that really helps you to build out what your full plan should look like. Okay. But then you also ask them, well, what do they need to learn more about?
Yeah.
Right. And that's where you want people to start thinking about, what are the other things that I could actually be doing? And then how do I get that information? So talk a little bit about that chapter, and then we'll start to do a little wrap up.
Yeah. Cool. So throughout the whole book, I had that case study, right? Which I think
Yeah.
is super powerful for people because it allows you to view somebody else's shoes, how
Yes.
they did things, where they were sitting. And then there's worksheets to go with the book too, right?
Yeah.
So there's some take homes that you can have from the book too.
Mhm.
And then I have the review at the end. So like my goal with the whole thing was just to pound it in people's skull like,
Yes.
this is not rocket science. It's pretty easy. You
Yes.
just have to have a little discipline, start at a young age, relatively speaking, the sooner the better, and then follow through on stuff each and every year.
Yeah.
And so the the big picture, Stephanie, that I want people to take away from that last chapter is seriously, what did you learn?
Mhm.
Right? Because how many books have you read that you go back and read a second time, you're like, holy cow, I've never heard this before. Or a
Yeah.
third time, you're like, holy cow, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
So my whole thing with the end game was to pound it in people's skull. Like, these are things that you took away from the book. These are things that you need to implement on. These are things that you need to execute, right? And
Yes.
if you take those things that you learned, execute them financially, you'll be in a way better spot in the future than if you absolutely did nothing. And
Yes.
that's what those worksheets, some of those take home worksheets are for in the book too. Not only for you to do one time, right? But for you to do
Yes.
year after year after year after year, right? And you can just, it's simple. There's Word documents you can create that have the same thing or write it
Mhm.
out just so you can see, hey, this is where I was a year ago. This is where I'm at today. Wow, check that out. Look how much more money I have, or how much
Yeah.
my stuff has grown, or financially, how much in a better position I'm in. And so that end game just really pounded into people's skulls what they've learned from the book that they can take away and execute on. And really, it's up to them, right? So even
Yes.
people that we work with, I can only do so much, right? I can
Mhm.
only do so much for you on your finances. It's up to you to actually do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what people need to understand. You can have advisors, you can have counselors, you can have all these people that support you in this process, but at the end of the
Up to you.
day, it's up to you to do the work. You have to execute, otherwise nothing is ever going to be different. And so this has been such an amazing conversation, Adam. I'm so grateful for you coming and talking with everyone tonight. Those of you who are live and those who will catch the replay, I want you all to get copies of Adam's books. If you're watching on Facebook, you'll see we have the link running across the screen. When we share the replay, we'll also post the clickable link to his books as well. You can just click it. It's a bit.ly link /Adam Olson. Simple, so that you can get to both of his books, 21 Things You Need to Know About Money and What's Your Plan, so that you can begin to create a life of financial freedom that will not just free you, but free your family as well. Create opportunities for generational wealth. Change the mindset about money in your household so that you can see your children and your children's children grow up in an environment where they know that they can create wealth themselves. So, Adam, do you have any parting words that you want to share with the people before we go?
Yeah, I just want to leave with them, that change starts with one day, right? Makes
Yeah.
one choice. So, like, whether it's my book you choose to read or the thousands of other ones that are out
Yeah.
there, it just starts with one choice. So, if you're in a bad spot financially, dig yourself out of it. My books are a great resource for
Yes.
you. And then hopefully use that as a jumping point to turn the corner and start making better financial decisions.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent, simple advice, which I love about Adam because everything he says is just to the point and simple. So thank you so much. Tammy says, thank you for those nuggets dropped tonight. Absolutely. We appreciate you, Adam. Everyone out there, grab his books. Annette says, change starts with one choice. So, Adam, you are making an impact on Annette because you said some things that have really resonated with her, resonated with me, and I hope will resonate with everyone that's either watching live or will watch the replay, or they will, and Iceland says, awesome, or they will hear it when we share it on our podcast as well, The Writer's Anointing. So thank you so much, Adam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Your comments, your questions. Annette says, thank you, Adam and Stephanie. Thank you for joining us. We
Yeah. Thank you.
appreciate you. We value your time. Thank your family for allowing us to have this
Yeah,
time
for
with
sure.
you.
You're
And
awesome. Thanks for having me, Stephanie. I really appreciate that.
absolutely. Everyone, again, get your copies of Adam's books. They're at https://bit.ly /Adam Olson. But it will be on the replay where you can click it and grab copies of his books so that you can change your financial path for good. Have a great night, everyone. Be blessed, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Adam. We appreciate you.